Hello, and welcome to Flow with Bo. Today's video is brought to you by the colors yellow, red, and blue. Also white. Yeah. And we mix up the colors and make them into skin tones. Individual skin tones. And I'm mixing my own tones and shades instead of buying like 10 different shades of brown from the craft store. Yeah. All right. Now, let's get started. My name is Bo. This is a series in which I do some art stuff and we kind of just follow along with the artistic flow of things. And if you would like to flow along with me, maybe do some art, draw something while you listen or watch, feel free. So today we will be painting noses. So I made these noses out of clay and I was able to get them fired, so that they are no longer mud. Yay! 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 And now, I'm painting them with some acrylic paints. I decided to kind of mix up a few of the primary colors. Granted, they are a little bit different shades than the, typical red, yellow, blue. I used like red, yellow, and a cyan type of color. I think it's just called turquoise or something like that. From Apple Barrel. I find that if I mix them this way, I can kind of have my own, different shades, and each shade will be a little bit unique because I'll be mixing them kind of individually and adding a little bit more red, a little bit more blue or yellow to really make like a nice non-ashy brown. So whenever I make, the paints for the skin tones, I would like them to resemble actual human skin colors. Yeah. So as far as faces go, I kind of just, I talked to this artist the other day and he was talking to me about how he finds it funny that I put googly eyes on things. And I was like, yeah, it's because I see faces in the objects or buildings or, the trees around me. And he was talking about how he does the same. And I thought it was so interesting because, I didn't think I'd be the only person, to really see faces and things, but I kind of was just like, oh, this is just something that I do, something that I can see, in the environment around me. So it was very nice to be able to connect with him in that way. And I just felt so good because I was like, yay, he can appreciate certain faces or, googly eyes, certain images that I might make. And I thought it was really cool. He's a really cool guy. Yeah, I like him. Anyways, right, into faces. So that's kind of where the inspiration comes from as far as putting faces on things, because I find that pots are like people, as my teacher has described. And it's also been, a very common theme in different cultures, different religions and stuff across the world. But especially in Native American culture, we see the pot as a body almost. And just like people, we are formed and molded by the environments around us, maybe by someone, forming and molding us out of the clay. And, you can try to make them as perfect and, consistently the same as possible, but there's always going to be some little variation, whether that be in the glaze or a very slight shape. And that's a very fun thing for production potters is they make things like the exact same and they all look super cool, but there's always going to be a little bit of variation just because they're made by humans and we all have a little bit of imperfections. Or, we all have a little bit of variations in ourselves and, our characters, maybe in the way we're formed. We all look a little bit different. We all act a little bit different, Coffee break. The iced coffee that I have today is a salted caramel. vanilla protein shake, cold brew, that I made on my own. Yippee! Yippee, yippee, yippee! Hell yeah. I did it all by myself. That's not really an accomplishment, but yeah. I love salt so much because it has such a good texture. Anyways, right, back to faces. Now, as far as faces go, I always want to make the noses a little bit different. I don't want the noses to look perfect. I can't make them look perfect, but I also don't want them to look perfect, because people's noses aren't, one perfect or one uniform way. Everyone's nose has a little bit of variation, whether that be a nose bump or whether that be, your nose is crooked or maybe a little bit slanted. Maybe your nose crooks down a little bit. Maybe it turns up. Maybe your nose is small. Maybe your nose is big. Maybe your nose takes up most of your face and maybe it doesn't. You never really know. So that's why I make everyone's noses a little bit different, because I find noses to be different and they all make us, unique. Our noses tend to suit our faces. Our noses are as diverse as the people they're on. So that's why I like to make my noses, a little bit crooked or a little bit off center. Maybe they're bigger, or maybe, maybe they take up half of the pot. I find that noses are just beautiful, unique aspects of people. And when I was younger, I don't want to say I was bullied, because it's not like I was shoved into a locker or something for the shape of my nose. But I was, I did hear comments from people about how my nose was really big or my nose was crooked. I remember one time we were describing, this was in middle school, and I don't really hold it to them anymore because I'm sometimes kids just say dumb stuff, and sure, it affected me, but now I'm able to kind of move past it. But this is a story to kind of tell you where this is all coming from. Yeah, so when I was in school, we were all talking about what animals we would be, and some people got oh, you would be a deer because, you're so dainty and little, and some people, got cat or something like that because I don't know, they're stealthy or something like that. Then when it came to me, I remember someone said that I looked like an eagle. And I was like, oh, why? Why an eagle? And they were like, oh, because your nose is so big. And I was like, oh, okay. And I kind of just took it and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But looking back, I think it was meant to be an insult. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just an observation because, again, we're kids. But yeah, that kind of stuck with me. And I also remember I used to go to a certain church, and at that church, there was a group of, kids and people and stuff, and they would always talk about oh yeah, crooked noses are so weird, right? And then, kind of glance at me. I think they were trying to be passive aggressive and such, and I don't know, I just started to hate my nose because I was like, well, my nose is crooked, maybe I would be more lovable, I guess, if my nose wasn't so crooked. Yeah, often, people would make comments about me being Native American, or you look like Pocahontas, or, the weird little comments and stuff. Yeah. So I started to, resent my nose because I was like, well, this is something that makes me different. This is something that makes me feel so outcasted from other people. And that was the same for, a lot of my features. But my nose was a big part of that. Big part of that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so I had that kind of insecurity as a little kid. And then as I, started to get older, I started hearing people around me and also being exposed to other, Native American people and other Latinos and stuff. I was exposed to, more people like me. And I was like, hey, I think these people are beautiful, I think they all look so unique and just they're absolutely gorgeous. And so that kind of inspired me because I was like, hey, they're beautiful. Why can't I be beautiful as well, you know? And not that, you know, your worth is in beauty, but as a kid, if you're constantly told, like, you look funny, you know, you're ugly or something like that, then you kind of internalize it and think, well, maybe that's the reason people treat me a certain way. And I didn't deserve it. You know, I don't think anyone deserves to be bullied over their looks, especially, you know, ethnic features, based on where they come from and such. So that's why, you know, all of my pots with faces are going to have different shaped nose to really, I guess, embrace the diversity of humanity and to also show other people, like, hey, this is beautiful. Your big nose, your crooked nose, you know, this and that. Beautiful, because it represents so many people who have loved each other over the course of history. Your ancestors loved each other so much, and your nose can be a reflection of that. I think I've, you know, inherited my nose from my grandfather. He had a very big, a very big nose, and I'm very proud of that because I also have a big nose. And it might not be shaped, you know, in a Eurocentric way, but it's my nose. My nose represents so many people who have loved each other over the course of history. And when I look at my nose now, like in the past few years, I've kind of been able to build a little bit of confidence with my nose and not really put so much, you know, hate on it. My nose can't control the way it is. It's just a nose. Nobody knows. So now, you know, when I look at my nose in the mirror, I'm like, hey, my nose helps represent who I am. You know, I'm a Native American. I'm a Latino. I'm, you know, all of these things, and I love myself. I love my nose. After having been taught, you know, to hate it for so long and being taught like, oh, like you should get a nose job or this or that and the third, I'm like, you know what? No, I love my nose. I love other people's noses too because they give them such interesting and cool characteristics, you know? I love big noses, crooked noses, you know? I like it when people have the nose bumps. I like it when people's noses are upturned. I like it when people's noses are maybe more straight and narrow but long. Yeah, I think we're taught to hate so much about our humanity, but it's like it's the unique things that make us human. It's the unique things that make us different from other people. If we all had the same face, we wouldn't be able to tell each other apart, you know? We wouldn't be able to maybe look at our mother and be like, hey, I recognize you as my mother. We wouldn't be able to look at our friends and say, hey, I recognize you as, you know, certain people of my friend group. All in all, I think that we need to embrace the features of our face that make us look unique and different. Because just as diverse as our noses are, that's how diverse people are. So I hope that this video, you know, helped you to kind of accept, you know, your face a little bit. I think noses are just absolutely beautiful, and I hope that you look in the mirror today and tell your nose that you love your nose. You know, squish it a little bit. Maybe don't shake it around, but, you know, grab your nose and give it a little finger hug and just, yeah, it's a good nose. It helps you to smell. Sometimes. Some people's noses don't smell, but that's also cool. Tell your nose that you love it today. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me in Flow with Bo. Yeah, I hope you're able to create something today, or we're able to create something today. And I hope that you go throughout today with a lot of love and kindness. And yeah, please treat people with kindness because there's enough ugliness in this world without us being ugly too. All right. Well, take care, guys. And see you later. Adios. Goodbye. Adios. Goodbye. Adios. Adios. Bye. Bye. Have a good day. Bye. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye. Bye. Adios. Bye. Have a good day. Bye. Adios. Bye.